Hello, hi, this is Gary MacDougall here, and I was just noticing the size of my forehead. Somebody noticed in my family once that my hairline's receding. I want to focus more on how much hair I have on my head, not so much the receding hairline. But that's not what I'm going to talk about today. What I'm going to talk about today is about freedom, spiritual freedom, and remembering. Because yesterday was Remembrance Day, and a neighbor who fought in wars asked us what we did for Remembrance Day. And what we did is we took, there's that is again, we took our children to the water, and it was a beautiful day. It was a sunny day, and we sat at the water, and I remembered my great grandfather who fought in the war, and I remembered my grandfathers that both fought in the Korean War. So my relatives fought in the First World War and the Korean War, and I have relatives now that are in the forces, and I have a neighbor's kid, probably 19 years old, who's also in the forces and going to serve our country. So I want to talk about spiritual freedom today and just what I thought about and about really being spiritually free and listening to that inner voice, because the inner voice, love or God, whatever definition, whatever word you want to put onto your soul or put onto consciousness, going within into the soul, being free, listening to that voice. It's quiet. I'm going to talk quiet today because the voice is quiet. Sometimes I get a little bit jumbled. My wife says I talk all over the place a little bit, but that's how I am. So spiritual freedom. And I also want to talk about documenting. This is a bit of a documentation. As much as I feel like I offer myself up in service. One of the greatest books I've ever read, Return to Love. If I could have one book on an island, it would be Return to Love by Marianne Williamson. The part of the book that I love the most is offering yourself up as a channel to spirit. Offer yourself up in service to God, not like a God as in like a person up in the sky with a beard who's condemning and all this stuff, but a God that is love, and being a channel of that love, being a channel of light, and bringing that light into the world. Like, what am I here for? Answering the big questions in life. What am I really here for? Who am I? Am I just this? What did I hear a guy call the body? A meat stick. Am I really just this meat stick? My spirit. Special, powerful. I think everybody has a spirit and a soul, and it speaks to us at all times. I think we're all called in service to light, in service of love. So listening to that call within. Somebody that I remembered, really strongly this morning when I was thinking about this, I wasn't really ready. I was kind of overwhelmed. It's so emotional. I just processed that emotion, and my spirit comes, and these things come, and I remember when the spiritual elders that thank God, I'm so grateful that I found spiritual or native people. And the reason why I'm so grateful for that is because they help me listen to that inner voice. They help me go within. Underneath all the fear, all the pain and suffering, there's a spirit and there's a voice and there's a love that just loves and fills you up from within. And so I was just remembering this guy's name was Melvin Graybear. Beautiful man. He could read my mind. And I thought, that was kind of scary that he could read my mind. What's scary about somebody reading your mind? So what if they can see your dark thoughts or your dirty secrets, addictions, all this stuff? Every human being has them. So let's just face up to it. We all have dark secrets. We all have this darkness, and we all have this stuff that if you really saw it, people would think you're crazy. Well, we're all crazy. Or healing, or ascending and getting healthier and healthier and healthier. And that's the path that I'm on. But he could see right through me, and I remember he read my mind one time. I was looking at his hair and I was thinking, wow, his hair's short, and he read my mind. Anyway, it wasn't that scary. As I realized, as I started healing and I started growing, as I started just getting out my addictions, getting out the pain, because a lot of the people around me were doing the same thing. They were ascending, they were growing, they were healing their darkness. We were all there for a reason. We were there to grow, we were there to heal, we were there to be of service and become better people. And that, as a white person, a fully white person now, is I dedicate my life to growing and to healing and listening to that inner voice. So I've done this for the past 20 years. And this is a part of my documentation. I keep telling these same stories over and over because parts of the story from the past come up. I've always followed my heart, and something that came up is when I was 24 years old, and really getting on the spiritual path, and like this was the way, following my inner voice, following the light, following love, is I had a retirement party. And what I retired from was like society says, or school says, you get a job, you pay the mortgage, you do this. I retired from the concept of what I was taught. And what I was gonna do, I was gonna dedicate my life to following love, dedicate my life to seeing where life would take me in love and the adventure of love, and listening to that quiet inner voice. So it's been awesome, but it's challenging because, I thought I had it all figured out a couple of years ago. And I was listening to this story this week that really inspired me, and it was by this lady, Alexis Neely. My wife was watching it. She said, "You got to watch this." And she's gone through a really similar process as us. She was really successful, had a lot of money, had businesses, did all this, did really well, but she wasn't fulfilled in her soul. So my message is, or what inspired me about that is I want to listen to that inner voice, and I want to feel fulfilled. What are the shortcomings or the fear that causes people not to listen? Is it can be scary to follow your soul. There's uncertainty. What if you left your job? What if that voice inside said, this job sucks. You got to move on. How are you going to pay the bills? How are you going to pay the mortgage? How are you going to do all this stuff? So that's something that, I'd encourage people to pray about it. Call it forth. Call forth the answers. If you follow your voice, your inner voice, if your outside life starts aligning with your inside life, how good is that going to feel? If you're working and doing things that is of service, is you're sharing love, you're uplifting someone, you're making the world a better place. You're listening to that inner voice, you're fulfilling your purpose or your destiny in this life. It's pretty friggin' awesome. But the scary part is, how are the bills going to get paid? How are they going to get paid? They're going to get paid because you intend them to get paid. They're going to get paid because you're leaving something that is fearful in a low vibration. And you're going to align with something that's electric. And you're going to align with something that's magnetic. And electricity and magnetism, it's really powerful. So if your intention is to struggle and go bankrupt and do all these things, you will. But if your intention is to thrive, is to love, is to be of service, there's going to be you're going to receive money in return for that. So, I'm trusting in that. And I'm inspired by those people that went before me that follow their heart. The Deepak Chopras, the Oprahs, the Marianne Williamsons, all these people, Jack Canfield in The Secret, all these people that took these big leaps of faith and followed their heart and are successful now and inspired me. So part of my document is this journey is we're not out of the we still have struggles, but I'm trusting because that inner voice says to trust and to go on. So remembering all those people that inspired me, Remembrance Day, and remembering my ancestors that went to war and fought for their country. And there was suffering because of that as the recycling truck goes by. Hope they're doing good for the earth. They suffered for our country, and they suffered, and our family suffered for them. So I thought about that a little bit. The sadness that people go through because they're at war. There's this kid in our neighborhood, I think I talked about it, he had a dark side shirt on, and his dad's in the Navy, and he's off and away. And I said, he has the dark side shirt. How do you associate with the dark side? He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, dark side, lonely. Are you lonely, or you're a bad guy, or do you beat kids up at school? Or he goes, well, the way I associate with dark side is, he's 9 years old. He's a year older than my oldest son. He's at home a lot, he said, by himself, and he'd be playing video games, and he'd be lonely. So he associates with the dark side with loneliness. And I totally understand that. To be a 9-year-old, to be at home alone a lot playing video games, he was alone. So he moved out of his house and he moved in with his grandparents who live a couple doors down. And, that made me kind of sad. It made me think about how important it is for me as a father to be there for my kids. To give up addictions, to give up suffering, to listen to this inner voice, to go within and to heal and to let go of sadnesses. Let go of pain. I gave up drinking and drugs over 16 years ago. Yes, I did drinking and drugs. I was a bad apple when I was young, but I gave it up because I wanted something better. I always knew it wasn't good, but I went to it anyway. So I gave it up young in my early 20s, and got on this spiritual path I got into the native way as a 2-week experiment, and it was so intoxicating, like an addiction. Only, I wasn't following that way. I was following my heart, and it helped me heal my heart. So, just with all the pain and the suffering that's caused because of wars, with all the pain and suffering that has been caused to my family because of wars, because of fighting in wars, turning to alcoholism, sexual abuse, turning to, fighting and screaming, the craziness, I've chosen this way of life to listen to my inner voice to forgive people first. Forgive people of the past. Be grateful. I'm grateful to all the men and the women that heal, that inspire me to heal, that inspire me to be authentic and real and overcome my pains and be a better father, be a better husband. So here's a challenge. This is a challenge I took up. I don't know where I got this from. Got it from Osho. And it was, the challenge is about overcoming addictions. Everybody has addictions. When I gave up drugs and alcohol, my addictions didn't stop. They just went to other things like coffee or sex or whatever. So it's like, how do you find balance? So what I'm doing right now is I'm giving up things that I find are my go-tos, the things that are outside of me that bring me happiness. Just giving them up, not for good, not forever, but just to see what they're hiding underneath. Because I'm constantly growing, constantly evolving. There's fears that need to come out. There's a spiritually free soul in here that wants to express itself and be alive and thrive and have great relationships and have good friends and do good for the outside world, do good for humanity, do good for the earth. There's a soul in there that's here for that. So I gave up a neediness with my wife, pushing on her always to have sex. I can't believe I just admitted that. But let's face it, everybody has sex. Everybody in a relationship should be having sex. And there's always one person that wants it more than the other person. So you can guess who wants it more than the other person. But I thought, I'm going to give up that neediness. It's for a short time, like a week or a month. And I challenge everybody to do this. Give up something that you reach outside of yourself for happiness, because happiness can be found within. And oftentimes when we reach outside, like for drugs or alcohol or sex or food or chocolate, and chocolate's great, so is sex. Some people think drugs and alcohol are too. I'm not against it. I just don't do it for my sanity. But I'm giving that up. And I gave it up like a week ago. And I'm taking a month-long challenge. But I'd encourage people to give it up for a week, whatever you reach for outside of yourself, and see what comes up. See what emotions. Sit with yourself every day. So I've been sitting myself every day. I go downstairs. I do this process of writing, like journal writing. I do some stretches that I learned in India. Like, they call it yoga, but it's stretches. And do some meditation. And just feel. Feel pain. Feel the craziness. Feel the overwhelmed feelings. And feel the growth and the awesomeness that comes from that. So that's what I'm doing. I've divulged too much. My hairline's receding, but I have a lot of hair, so the hair is going to stay. And yeah, I got to keep doing these videos because I've offered myself up in service, and this is all I'm inspired to do right now, is to grow, to heal, ascend, and make this world the best place I can make it. At least make my world the best place I can make it. So if you're healing, if you're watching this, so much love to you, so much inspiration. We can heal through anything. Sometimes I get really started I get really angry at the man or government or systems, but that anger is such a gift because it shows me that I have something that I need to heal. So instead of speaking out so much anger, so much pain, I just take time to heal it and look inside and say, what is this reflecting back at me? If I'm seeing problems out in the world, if I'm seeing chaos, if I'm seeing greed and I don't like it, what part of me is greedy? What part of me is angry? What part of me is chaotic? Everything we see is just a reflection of what's going on in our heart, what's going on in our subconscious, what's going on in our mind. And that darkness can inspire us to do addictive things. So, yeah, I'm just taking that challenge. I encourage you to take that challenge if you want. If you want to grow, if you want to heal, if you want to become the best person, or I think of it like I think of the chakras. I think, if darkness, if anger, if fear is filling up all these chakras, they're not gonna be humming along. They're not gonna be, our spiritual powers aren't gonna be coming out. I want to activate that power. I want to live to full capacity, live to my full potential or capacity, however you want to call it or look at it, to be my best for my family, for this earth. I am rambling on. My wife says I ramble on, so that is it. So much love to you. Heal, grow, awesome recycling truck.